Hello, this is Greg Allison with Green Gregs and Galactic Gregs coming to you on the 21st of February, 2021. In the waning hours of the day, it is 3,700 hours Central Standard Time. Okay, just imagine the ozone layer being destroyed, plants and animals dying. Imagine the lightning raging across the tropics like you've never seen it before, huge electrical storms. Imagine looking up in the sky and seeing aurora, dazzling auroras occurring everywhere. Just imagine that the Arctic air is just surging down over North America and Europe, more so than this last episode we've just had, and doing so repeatedly. Imagine ice sheets and glaciers surging. Yeah, on return, rebound, and surging. Imagine weather patterns just shifted wildly. Imagine solar storms having a much larger effect, so much so that they take out our power grids all over the world. Did this happen 42,000 years ago? Is this what took out the Neanderthals? Scientists, many of them now believe that is absolutely true. And could this return to us very soon? Some scientists also think that is a huge possibility due to the rapidly changing motion of our poles and the rapidly dropping magnetic sphere strength and the growth in the South Atlantic economy. Many other things are on the table and being discussed about these, some pro and con. We're going to go into all that, and we're going to talk about the Neanderthals. We're going to talk about how Cro-Magnon man may have survived this. We're going to talk about evidence in cave paintings. We're going to look at some African tribes, and we're going to talk about what you can do yourself to get through these things. So Greg, what the heck are you talking about? Yeah, I'm going to go through a whole bunch of websites, just blur through them and show you a lot of this stuff. But guys, how do we know this? What are we talking about? Well, there's several things that you can look at for this. In general, you can tell the location of the Earth's magnetic poles over time by separation. For example, where you have rifts in Earth's crust where the continents or plates are being pushed apart, like the South in the Atlantic, the mid-Atlantic ridge, all the way from above Iceland, all the way down below South America, it's being pushed apart, and new material wells up. And this happens at a steady rate, at about the rate of the growth of your fingernails. But it just keeps happening. And it's steady. And it's been going on for a long time. Now, the cool thing is you can look at the rocks, the minerals in these rocks, the iron oxides, they're magnetized. And they align themselves with Earth's magnetic field. Well, ever so often you can see the magnetization flips, which way the poles are. You can see this in these mineral rocks, and it does it in bands. You can see it all up and down these ridges. And in other similar rift zones, you can see the same thing. And you can chart this back for millions and millions and millions of years. And you can see how the poles have changed. Now, it seems that the poles change typically, and there's other evidence I'll go into in a minute, of this 42,000 year anomaly. Now, there's major pole shifts, and then there's excursions. What happened 42,000 years ago was an excursion. Typically, we have a complete pole shift generally, and it's not regular. About every 200, 300,000 years. The last full shift occurred 780,000 years ago. But sometimes there's excursions, a temporary shift, a flip and a flip back. And this occurred back 42,000 years ago. It's called the Laschamps event. Some call it the Adams event after Douglas Adams, who, because it's 42,000 years ago, who said 42 was the answer to everything, life in the universe, in his novel, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe. So, all this said, pardon me, they didn't really see much of this evidence in the Greenland ice cores, but for this latest excursion and what it meant to the environment particularly. But that did show up in these trees they found in New Zealand peat bogs. They're called kauri trees. These are huge, enormous trees, big tree trunks, and they found these peat bogs, and they've been preserved for thousands of years. 42,000 years ago, what they found was remarkable increases in carbon-14 right at that point. And they're seeing other indicators of dramatic changes in the environment. Of course, you can look all over the world and you can see the evidences for the changes in the environment, because the ice sheets got really intense again at that time, at the same time. Well, why would that happen? Well, we're going to go all into that. But these kauri trees are the smoking gun here, where they're seeing this primary evidence. Now, the other thing that they're looking at that's showing this evidence is they're also finding in lake sediments and silts now. So there's a new research effort starting to look in these silts to see if they can get a finer tuned record of everything that's going on over some long period of time. That's a whole new research field that's opening up. I'm not going to show you articles on that one because it's still very early in its field of development. But you've been seeing probably a lot of articles lately about these kauri trees. I meant to cover this last Friday, and I got everything lined up to go, and I realized I had to run because I had to take care of my greenhouse, had to get some fuel for my greenhouses, and I just didn't have time to do this last night. I'd hoped to get this done earlier tonight. So this is probably going to be posted Monday, because anything I post after midnight don't do worth the dog. I don't get any views hardly. So I'll probably post this Monday. So that's what happens on my channel. I'm a busy bee. I don't have time for a lot of stuff like a lot of other guys. I have way too many irons in the fire. So what happened is the magnetic field is thought to have dropped to 5% in this Laschamps excursion that they had 42,000 years ago. What happened 42,000 years is the poles flipped and then flipped right back for about 1,000 years. It was not a permanent flip. It's not, they consider that an excursion. So this period of flipping, so it might not have been fully flipped over that 1,000 years period, but that was when the process was in its peak. So, and we may be heading to that again. There's a lot of indicators of that right now, unfortunately. So I'm not saying it's going to happen. Don't put words in my mouth, but there's strong indicators that we have better be aware. Like I tell people on my Green Grapes channel, keep your eyes wide open and head on a swivel, because things are coming fast and furious. We're living in challenging times, my friends, and this is the last thing we need on top of our backs at this moment. But I'm going to talk to you about things that you can do about it. Okay, so the computer models, though, show that when the magnetic field drops to 6%, now see, they thought it was at 5%. When it drops as low as 6%, a lot more radiation is coming in from the Van Allen belts, and it will just shred our ozone layer. The protective layer protects us from UV. When you decimate the ozone layer, what happens? You got plants dying. Photosynthesis, and plants are having a hard time. And when the plants are dying, megafauna is dying off. And megafauna is dying off, the predators such as Neanderthal man are in severe danger of dying off. And indeed, Neanderthal went extinct about this period of time. What's going to keep us from going extinct? So these are all good questions. How are we going to eat when there's massive crop failures around the world, like the megafauna? Yeah, our civilization doesn't need to deal with this, but it might have to. So, and here's the other thing. What this radiation will do is it will have other effects in the upper atmosphere. It will cause stream ionization. That stream ionization in the upper atmosphere, from what happens is the radiation knocks electrons off the atoms, and you got free ranging electrons, and you got you got positively charged atoms, so the electrical ionization increases a lot, and that's going to increase lightning storms like crazy. It's going to enhance the auroras, because even though the magnetic field is lower, the poles will be wandering all over the place. And so you're going to have more auroras everywhere, and even small solar storms will affect us far more than what they do today, including auroras. And like I said, our grid, forget it, that thing will fry, all our grids. And then we're in deep, deep trouble, because I do a lot of videos talking about the risk to our power grids. Guys, we got to get these things hardened. And we can, but we aren't doing it yet. That's why I talk about a lot of my Green Grapes channel, guys. I really beat on it, because I've chaired 2 power grid defense conferences. Let's see, well, what did I do? The placard, here it is. I've chaired 2 of these conferences for power grid defense, my friends. That's my podium placard. All right, so the megafauna dies out. Not all of it, but a lot of it. See, there was more of it died out during the, a lot more megafauna died out when we had an event 12,500 years ago, which we call the Younger Dryas. We had a sudden intense re-intensification of the ice age, which seemed to be waning, and a lot of global changes. Many people think occurred because of a cometary impact on the Laurentide ice sheet over Canada. That's a whole nother subject matter. But So what do we see that kind of indicates in background? Well, all at once cave art appears all over Europe, and it's red ochre, and they're like handprints, where people are spitting, and you see the handprint. Now, maybe that wasn't so much a handprint. Maybe somebody was trying to apply red ochre to their hands more uniformly, spitting it on. And what's red ochre? Red ochre is a mineral in red clays. It's iron oxide, basically. And actually, it's very protective against ultraviolet. So it looks like people were both hiding in caves all at once. You didn't see this before 42,000 years ago. So maybe 42,000 years ago, people took refuge in caves, including Neanderthals. And they were trying to get away from this radiation. And they started covering their skin in red ochre. And I'm going to show you more of that to come. So this red ochre may be one protective measure. One of the other sunscreens we have these days might help too. But the red ochre was what they were using at the time. But the sudden appearance of people in caves, the red ochre, the extinction of Neanderthal men, the extinction of a lot of the megafauna. Megafauna dies because it, well, maybe too cold or doesn't have food to eat. Why would it be too cold? Well, then again, when you got all this radiation coming in from the upper atmosphere, cosmic rays also won't be blocked as much potentially. And so it could be that you got increased cloud nucleation from all these different processes. Increased cloud nucleation increases the albedo of Earth, and that means Earth's reflecting sunlight. Much like Bill Gates wants it to do, but this happens naturally, far more so. Kind of like sulfur dioxide from the large volcanoes. So what this is this is another process that can increase the albedo of Earth very significantly to cause a dramatic cooling effect on the ground. So there's more than one potential process that can cause this. But what happens then is that your plants are being stressed from too much UV and too cold. So you're burning and freezing at the same time. Not a good place to be, my friends. Not a good place to be. So what do you do? Well, one thing you might want to do real quick is you might want to get yourself prepped with long-term food storage, just in case something like this happens, while you are learning and relearning your skills for how to survive in this new environment or the other stresses that we're having in our society today, which are coming from internationally, domestically, economically. We're under all kinds of stress in our society. So I highly encourage you to go to prepwithgreg.com. Boom, we can get this long-term food storage. You can get 2 of these, which is a 4-week supply, 20% off, or 1 of them, either way, and get 2,000 calories per day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's a great price at which you'll be a winner. It averages about $8.10 or 11 cents per day for 3 meals. And it's real food. It's freeze dried. It's lightweight, which makes it easy to bug out with, to carry with you. If you have to bug out in a backpack, you get these nice little pouches that you can put in your backpack. They're flexible. That's 4 servings in that pouch, which is far better than one of these big hard cans, which is just 2 servings. Take 2 of these to make that. Of course, they don't have the water in it, but I do. Greenest has videos for how to purify and sanitize water, which are 2 different things, by the way. Not what some other channels would tell you. All right, my friends. Another thing that we have for evidence that our poles are changing today is one of them might be the South Atlantic anomaly. There's some evidence that anomaly may be older, maybe it might be more stable, but so there's debate about that right now. But essentially, when your a magnetic system starts breaking down, many poles tend to pop up. So that's one of the things we're looking at. That is a distinct possibility. So I'll go into the South Atlantic anomaly in a minute too. We used to call it Old Sal, and it's been there pretty much ever since the space age has been around. But it seems like it's getting stronger. The magnetic field of Earth is getting weaker, as we know. So some people think these are both signs, and the rapid movement of the North Pole and the magnetic South Pole, which actually the magnetic South Pole is not a geographic North Pole and vice versa. That's just the way it is right now. A lot of people don't realize that. So what happens is the Van Allen radiation belts dip down lower because the field is less strong there. And it affects satellites flying overhead, and which are about 120 miles up. That's we had to worry about that with the International Space Station when we were designing it back in the day as the Space Station Freedom. All your other satellites they have to be rad hard. Avionics have to be rad hard for when they fly through that region. Of course, you have to be rad hard if you go through the Van Allen belts and go up the geosynchronous orbit, even more so. But it's definitely something you have to contend with. So let's go show you some websites, and I'm going to show you a habitat concept I'm coming up with, which will definitely tremendously help you get through a home you can live out of, make a living out of, and grow all your food in. That would definitely help you get through these situations. It's something that I'm developing. So give me a second here, guys, and we're going to go look at a bunch of websites here. Here we go. Yeah. Look here. In the Neanderthals, linked to flip of Earth's magnetic poles, studies suggest. And this is Science Magazine, my friends. This is science. Earth's magnetic field acts as protective shield. We all know that. From damaging cosmic radiation. Okay. Yeah. So when that cosmic radiation is coming in, it's going to create the ionization in the upper atmosphere, wipe out our ozone, let the UV in, and other stuff. So this is where they're tying it to Doug Adams, The Hitchhiker's Guide. So even scientists have a sense of humor, even when we're talking about doomsday. Like I always say, my friends, there's a silver lining around every mushroom cloud. So look, we see massive growth in ice sheets over North America. We see tropical rain belts in the Western Pacific shifting dramatically at this point, and then the wind belts in the Southern Ocean are drying out Australia. So all this happens at the same time, guys. So what they're saying is we did see massive increases in ice sheets that coincided with this drop of the magnetic field. Isn't that weird? Isn't that interesting? So it may be that the drop of the magnetic field may be the trigger point for ice ages. So we still have a lot to learn about this. So we're in this quaternary ice age. It's been lasting for about 3 million years, and we're currently in an interglacial period. And our current interglacial is getting a bit long in the tooth. So we may be due on these switches. And by the way, now they seem to know what's also causing this. I'm going to show you that in a minute too. Study reveals atmospheric changes could have resulted in huge shifts in the climate, electrical storms, and widespread colorful aurora, which I just mentioned. Here, talking about depletion of the ozone. Earth's magnetic field has weakened about 9% over the last 170 years. See what I'm talking about, guys? 9%. So this goes on. This is Science Magazine. So this is coming in, talking from the standpoint of science, my friends. And and that's why I'm bringing this also on Galactic Graves, because this is a very cosmic event. That our artwork is a little bit too fanciful because you don't have the big planets directly behind the Earth, and the moon's not that close. But hey, artists, artists love to have fun. Okay, what can you say? All right, so this made CNN. I think it's more important than what's in science, but. Here they're talking about it. Here they refer to it as the end of days phenomenon. And so this is a lot of the same stuff said here, but since you had no magnetic field at all, our cosmic shield, radiation shield was totally gone, Turney said, talking about this event. So yeah, you see what I'm talking about, guys? This is nothing trivial. An upcoming reversal in the paper published in the journal Science, which we just came out of, the magazine of Science. Experts say there is currently a rapid movement of the north magnetic pole across the northern hemisphere. We already knew this, which could signal another reversal in the cards. This speed alongside the weakening Earth's magnetic field for about around 9% in the last 107 years. Yeah, we just covered that. Yeah, so what we're seeing is we could be heading right into this. I mean, we don't know when. This could happen again. All right, let's get out here. Too many ads popping up. Let's go to another one. Boom. Climate disaster. And this is in Samsung magazine. No, this is livescience.com. Oh my gosh, too many ads here in Live Science. I'm afraid of what might pop up if I scroll down here. Earth's magnetic field barrier surrounded the planet. Originates from a churning of hot molten metal around its core. They're talking about the outer core. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Clues and biscuits. You know, that's the cuts from these the cuts from these trees I mentioned, the kauri trees in New Zealand. They call them biscuits. You know, talking about the increased levels of radioactive carbon-14. Because why? There's more radiation because things are getting more ionized with all the radiation coming in from the lowering of the Van Allen belts and other things. So look here. This is cave art that started appearing 42,000 years ago. Red ochre handprints. See this? Red ochre handprints in Spain's El Castillo caverns or caves were made almost 42,000 years ago. I think this actually dates to 39,000, and were suggested to represent the use of the ancient form of sunscreen. Dun, 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 dun. Maybe Homo sapien, maybe maybe Neanderthal didn't like the looks of themselves with that stuff on them. They might have thought that looked ugly. Might have killed them. Their vanity might have got them. They might have died from vanity. They thought they were too cute, too pretty. Oh my gosh, we're too pretty. We can't wear that stuff. We'll look like an ugly Cro-Magnon. I think that's what got them. Here's the trees, man. Here they still exist today. This is your kauri tree. A huge trunk on it. A pretty tree. Beautiful tree. Look at that. That's your kauri trees. Old trees, but how old? Yeah. Here they are again talking about this event. The record suggests the magnetic field began to drop 42,350 years ago. And I said they're really pinning it down, and reached its lowest level 41,800 years ago, which is 300 years prior to the actual pole flip. Thus, the weakening magnetic field at this time was more of a precursor to the flip than of an impact of the pole swapping. Kind of what's going on now, maybe, perhaps. Of course, we don't know. You know, our evidence and science on this is still young, but you know, it's something, like I said, to keep your eyes wide open and head on a swivel for. Here's another article. This one is in something called The Conversation. Earth's magnetic field broke down, massive sudden climate change. Dun, 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 dun. Talking about Neanderthals, large animals, ancient trees. Yeah, there's nothing new in here. I'm just showing. There you go. That's new. There's your trunk of your tree. They say these last for a long time. There it is, right there. That's what gave us the evidence. Somebody had a nice chainsaw, didn't he? Was it a Stihl? What kind of chainsaw did they use to cut that? Wow, that's a good cut too. I see even. Take a big saw. Adams event. They're using some of the same artwork. Using so many other places here. Here we go. This is our Earth's magnetic poles about to swap places. So here's another article talking about the last reversal being 780,000 years ago, last permanent reversal. So I got to wonder if we had a little excursion even during the Younger Dryas, but it's thought the Younger Dryas was an impact-related event. This is, dealing with the South Atlantic anomaly. This article kind of argues against the notions. They're talking about looking at volcanic rock there in this island in the South Atlantic, and they're kind of thinking the South Atlantic anomaly has been around a little bit longer in this article. Not sure that's the direct evidence of it, at least to that part. This article here is showing you the movement of the magnetic field, and unfortunately this cuts off in 2007. But what you find is it kind of drifted around this area at about 1994 within these islands in northern Canada, and then it started going actually in about 1831. Now see, this is when the field really started weakening the most, and then it kind of hung around here, and then it just starts moving. And then it starts accelerating this movement. Boom, boom, whoop. And now it's really off here. The magnetic field is racing over toward Siberia, to Russia right now. In the south magnetic field, the southern geological magnetic field is actually moving too, and it's heading back in the same. They're heading toward each other, actually, kind of, sort of. Maybe they converge somewhere around India. Some notion of what's going on in the core of the earth, some artist idea. That's kind of fanciful to me. Looks like chaos. Oh my God, what is that? Looks like my hair on a bad hair day. we go. The key to magnetic field, Greg Allison's hair. Yeah, so this is showing how the magnetic field protects the Earth. It's normally like 10 Earth radii going out this way toward the sun, and on the other side it goes out past the moon. It's like a comet in shape, the magnetic field. The solar wind pushes on it. So I'm not going to read all that. I'm just showing you what they're showing here. Oh, now scientists might know why. Yeah, they actually think that there's the core of the Earth has got a kind of a drum beat to it. It has it's strumming. It's got a beat, and that beat actually is driving the changes in magnetic field. Where does that say that in here? Is that in this article? I don't know. Let's see here. Talking about magnetic field being rubber bands. Yeah, we say it all the time. There's your crazy rubber bands. I'm not sure this article actually goes in it. Rapid motion triggers magnetic waves that careen toward the core surface, causing geomagnetic jerks. I know a lot of jerks. Geomagnetic. I don't think they're very magnetic. So, could magnetic field ever collapse? Well, yeah. I already know that. Oh well. Yeah, this didn't quite get to it, but there's kind of a beat to it. It puts out a beat from the core of the Earth, even though from the inner core. The outer core seems to be where the field comes from, but it's too hot. The outer core is where the field comes from. The inner core seems to be driving it, though. And here's another. Why is the field strength dipping so rapidly? See, the thing is, the rate at which the poles are moving is accelerating. Also, the rate at which it started really in 1831. The rate at which the field is dropping is also accelerating. So the field is dropping at accelerating rate, and it is also it's accelerating and dropping, both accelerated rates. I'm forgetting which one I just said. But really, what we call the North Pole is the summation. It's the average that our needle's going to point to, the average between two different regions that are really the magnetic North Pole. We already have a quadrupole. We got really two magnetic North Poles and a magnetic South Pole. What it's showing is this one is increasing and that one's decreasing. So the additive effect is moving in this area. But they think the whole thing is actually about to move for some reason. So, but that's a strange thing going on there. This shows what's happening in 10 years in magnetic field strength and the additive vector adding of where the North Pole is heading. You see, it's really moved up a lot lately. Now, from my standpoint, north has been magnetically in the same direction. Now, if you're out here, it's the angle of declination has moved. If you're over here, it's moved. You have an angle of declination. For me, it's still, from where I'm at, it's still the same. Look at that. So here it's weakening, over here it's strengthening. All right. Bing. Oops. Hang on. I'm having trouble changing my tabs here because Zoom that I'm filming in its tab lowers down every time I come in here. See, that's what Earth's magnetic field looks like. A lot of spaghetti here, if you draw the fill lines out. This is Wikipedia, and this is some of your field strengths. So this shows the quadrupoles here versus the magnetic pole. I'm not going to go all into that. This is your intensity. This is your South Atlantic deal going on. And we'll come back out. Boom. Inclination, declination. This again is your chart of the movement of the poles. Now see, this one goes farther. That other chart ended right here. This shows acceleration is continuing. And so it's past the actual geological North Pole. This is your actual geological North Pole here that Earth spins around pretty much. And you can see it's just going straight line. It just wandered around for a while. Now it's a straight line heading out of here, bucking out. Moving on up to the north. All right. This is your magnetosphere of the planet. And I'm not going to go all into that. This shows you the magnetic changes over time. And it includes excursions. Laschamps, Mono Lake, Blake, Pringle Falls, Big Lost. Something got lost at that time, huh? So this shows you a lot of the excursions. So this happens. The periodicity and something, so this is what's our measurements in here. Yeah, I can't scroll up there. But I think there's more to that chart than what's showing here. Oops, what we want to do is, didn't want to do that. I was trying to get out of it. Picture, I managed that. So, South Atlantic anomaly, we talked about that. And you can see what it looks like here. Weakness of the fill. The strong fills are in reddish, the weak fills are bluish, as you can see here. And that's the South Pole's magnetic pole, which is actually the magnetic North Pole, and this is the North magnetic poles, which geological, which are the magnetic South Poles. Confusing, right? Well, that's because they flip. So here is, I can click this and go to geomagnetic reversal. We can focus on these specifically. This gives you a little bit more breakdown, goes over a longer period. Yeah, see this diagram here? That's what they think it looks like during the reversal when you're going from one phase to another, where you got north and south poles all over the place. That's why some people think the South Atlantic anomaly may be an indicator. So there's debate about that right now. So I'm not going to give you this all one thing. Oh yeah, so what do you do for prevention? You know, we can talk about some things like seawater. If you want to have a greenhouse, put water overhead, seawater. I should do this in a separate conversation entirely, but glass and seawater both have some preventative effects. What you have is you have UAV. We're talking about ultraviolet radiation being one of our primary concerns. How do we stop ultraviolet radiation? Of course, we can do the red ochre on ourselves. How do we protect crops? Can we put them in greenhouses and put something overhead? Glass, well, okay, let me break it down. UAVC gets stopped in the upper atmosphere of the Earth. It don't make it to the ground typically, although some people claim they're refining it now, maybe at higher elevations. If you get it, you're going to get there first. UAVB is the type of UAV. UVB is the type of UV radiation that gives you sunburn. Glass does stop that. Glass stops it. That's a good thing. Glass blocks almost all UVB. But UVA is the form that actually causes cancers and things like that. It don't burn you, but it does long-term damage and cause the cancers and the aging, the degradation of your skin, and kill plants. I guess burning can kill plants too. So, but UVC is blocked in the upper atmosphere. UVB can be blocked by glass. UVA is not blocked by glass because its frequencies are shorter and closer to that of visible light. Now, here's what they find. They find that now it does, the glass will block about 25% of UVA. That's good. And it might be good enough. Let me stop the share here for a minute. Yeah, it might be good enough that you block 25%. Maybe for the purposes of plants. It certainly will help because ocean water, say 3 foot of ocean water is only going to block 20%. That's odd. It seems like, water ought to do better, but you're not getting as much blocking with 23 foot of ocean water as opposed to, a little pane of glass. It's kind of interesting. Glass is denser, I guess, but, light gets to it better. So it's kind of odd. I don't know why that's what they claim on that, but they claim you have to have at 30 feet, you block all but maybe 1% of the UV, because you're not getting a lot of light down at 30 feet. Well, here's why I tell you that you don't have to block that much, because I'd have to do some more investigation, but you know, what they believe is that life couldn't emerge from land onto the from the ocean onto land until the ozone layer formed. And the ozone layer was formed because there were these stromatolites growing all over the ocean, edge of the ocean, continental shelves right underwater, that were big, you know, algae-like plant structures. And there's some today, you can still find them today alive. That these produced most of the oxygen early in the Earth's history. And that oxygen started filling the atmosphere, and it was reacting with the UV and forming ozone. And over time, it formed enough ozone that life was actually able to merge up out of the water onto land, because now it was protected. The water did provide enough protection for life to exist in the ocean for a long time. They just couldn't get up on land until the ozone layer formed. But that life in the ocean was only a few inches underwater. It might have got closer and closer over time, but it, you know, you couldn't have been 30 feet down. You just wouldn't have had much life, a whole lot of photosynthesis at that time. You'd have had some, but it just wouldn't have been great. It's thought that it was, you know, just a few inches underneath the water. So you don't have to block it all. You just got to block enough. How much is enough? You know, I don't know. You have to have that. The radiation analysis on that kind of stuff is very complex. I got a friend who just did a dissertation on that, and he did a briefing to the Huntsville, Alabama L5 Society recently, and that's quite a very complex briefing. It's very dependent on so many things, but the fact of the matter is, it seemed that a few inches of water was good enough for most life to exist. So knocking out a little percentage, because the question is, how much more radiation does it take to wipe plants out? We know already that the UA, there's a college in Alabama called UAB, and I'm trying to say that. UV, sometimes the words get stuck in your mind. I went to UAH, by the way. UV, B, and UVA do damage to plants already. The plants growing in the fields today are already damaged by it. They create pigments that protect them from that. And a lot of those pigments are very healthy for us today. That's what we get in our fruits and vegetables. Our brightly colored fruits and vegetables are brightly colored from pigments that these plants use to protect the fruits and vegetables and the plants themselves from this radiation. It does affect them. I have seen tomatoes that have been grown from light that was piped in with fiber optics, and they're growing like trees. You know, as compared to another plant that would be, you know, just struggling to live because it's not being attacked by these radiations. So the today's plants can grow far better if they don't have to contend with that radiation. That's a fact. Now, you know, you may want that radiation to help ripen the fruit or something. I don't know, but the fact is that plants do better without these radiations, but you know, they need the sunlight to survive. So you know, it's kind of a dual thing. Now they can take a bit more, but how much more? And what is the level at which stuff starts dying off? Here's another thing we know: the world didn't end 42,000 years ago. It was bad enough that your megafauna died out, which meant most of your vegetation was suffering bad. It didn't get wiped out. Plant species are still here today. There's still plants. If it had got wiped out in that 1,000 years, we wouldn't have plants in forests today. We wouldn't have wild plants. But what happened is their numbers dwindled significantly. They couldn't support the large game or the predators that existed off large game. So, as we know, Neanderthal was primarily a meat-eating species of humanity. 90% of his diet or better came from meat. They were definitely carnivorous. So they couldn't handle it. It was too much. Smaller animals usually do better when there's less pickings around, because they don't have to require the same amount of caloric intake. That's why maybe Cro-Magnon man had an advantage that maybe he decided to put pigment on his skin. Something that Neanderthal man might have been looking at with disdain. Like I said, maybe he was a little too vain for it. The vanity can get you, right? Okay. All right. Enough of all that. Who knows? They thought they were so good looking. Hey, in their own eyes, they were. These skin looking a little ugly Cro-Magnon, man. I mean, yeah, woo. That's exactly what they would have thought. Because, you know, that's the way their genes were programmed to like each other. You know, anything that's far deviant from that, they wouldn't care so much about. Maybe that's conjecture. I know that. Okay, guys. So, but what I'm talking about here is it may just take a little bit more protection to get your plants through, just like the seawater. Like I said, you got to go down 30 feet to get where you totally knock the UV out. You don't have to. Plants existed even when we had the UV radiation hitting the ground just a few inches underneath the top of the ocean water. So that's my indicator that, or at least that's what they think. The stromatolites, you know, they were growing. And now, like I said, over time they probably got closer and closer until finally things got out. But you don't have to knock it all out. You just got to get enough to survive. And then we're already some plants that survived this period. But some didn't. And we're going to talk about what plants you might want to grow. There are plants that were probably better adapted to it, like quinoa. We'll talk about that in a minute. So we're going to go all into top habitat you can live in. Now, this is going to take me a bit. This is why this has got to be posted. I wanted to post it Sunday. I wanted to post this Friday. I had everything lined up to do this video on Friday, but the weather and other things going to knock me out of it. I had too much to do Saturday and today too. So yeah, alrighty. Quinoa, though, maybe what you go to. So I just wanted to go over this UV. UVA will go through glass at least 75%. UV, but that might be good enough. Maybe that and just a little water or 2 planes of glass might do it. Might do it. Thicker glass might do it. You know, it's going to take some analysis to run this stuff down. I've did some data searches, and I'm not finding a whole lot in short order that gives me the definitive everything I want to see on this. But some plants survive this excursion, just not enough. So maybe just a little extra protection might make a big difference. Maybe not. We'll talk about the maybe nots too, how to deal with some of these things. So UVA is the killer. UVC is the burner, which could also maybe kill plants, but UVC isn't reaching the ground now. Now, maybe it will in that occasion. Maybe it will reach the ground. So people think it's coming down now in some degree. Anyway, so let's go now back into our presentation. Go back into share. Look at the websites on this stuff. So here, seawater is an effective filter of shorter UV wavelengths. That sounds like it would do UVA better. That could be. So maybe if you mix water. So I looked at seawater because when I did freshwater, all I could find was articles on UV filters for your wells. Tons of them. Tons of articles on that. It's not really. So I searched on seawater because I knew nobody was filtering that. So this came up with some good answers. But as I was trying to get to the depth that the creatures were living back in the ocean prior to oxygen being in the atmosphere. Right? Now, these are things that I know I've heard quite a bit in various scientific documentaries, but don't always come up too easily. So here we go. Does water block radiation? All that you need to know. Now, there is this. This is the best data I found here. It's this chart. It's kind of interesting. Best Buy is all over me tonight. The thing that gets blocked the least is visible light, but more on the blue side. In fact, as you go down deep enough, blue light is what you're going to get when you get real deep in the water. And blue light happens to be one of the, blue and red is what plants need. You don't get as much red though, a little bit. Plants reflect green because that's what they actually don't use. But you're going to get some of this ultraviolet, but not all of it. Some ultraviolet. This is the longer waves. So I think what we were hearing, listen, guys, sometimes these writers, they get things backwards. It's the longer waves that are being blocked up to about this one. This seems to be the maximum point for UV getting blocked. But these, as you go to this side of the chart, that's longer waves. Going this way, this is shorter waves. Far IR, mid IR. Oh, wait a minute. I'm wrong. But they got this pegged wrong. Okay. Pardon me, guys. I got it backwards. These are the shorter waves. You got the IR over here. Yeah, ultraviolet is on the side of violet light. That's higher frequencies. So the higher frequencies are getting blocked out here. Okay. UVA is the one closer to visible light. It's getting through. It's a lower frequency. I got it backwards. Hey, I made a mistake. So, yeah, and this is why ultraviolet gets to be ionizing when it gets out over here. So this is getting blocked more. So that's the good thing. Water is blocking that. And apparently glass blocks this side. Well, UVB will be higher frequency. Okay. So between water and let me be succinct and get this right. Whoa, why do you have to scroll like that? Let me get this right. Let me go back up here to this chart. This is UVA. This is UVB. This is UVC. UVB is getting blocked here, and it's also getting blocked by glass. So UVA gets through water and glass, okay? So that's what we're seeing here, because it's more like visible light. This is UVA. UVB is longer wavelengths. So I mean, UVB is shorter wavelengths. It's on this side. We go this way. We're going from millimeters to nanometers. So these are shorter waves. Yeah, it's just charts just flip backwards when I'm normally used to seeing them. Usually they flip the higher frequencies to the right. So I got a little bit off, guys. Sorry about that. So let's look at red ochre. Hey, isn't she cute? So what we find is the Himba women in northern Namibia, and also you'll know that a lot of the other tribes in Africa use the red ochre quite a bit. So she's got the red clay all in her hair, on her skin. Now they wear this all over their bodies. They totally coat themselves up. So there are people that still use that to this day. It's like a resistor. They're beads. Color codes on a resistor. Well, I don't know why the Neanderthal didn't like the looks of that. They just didn't want to be red. I don't know. So at least she's got a cute smile, right? There we go. So this is your cave paintings, the hand prints I was talking about. Quinoa. This is quinoa. I'm going to show you the kind of habitat concept too, guys. It's really going to be good for this kind of a environment to survive in. We'll finish that. That'll be the last thing I show today. Quinoa, guys. Look at quinoa. It's a nutty seed. And a lot of people think it's a grain. You can eat it like a grain, but it's more protein for any serving than any grain or seed. It's got all 9 essential amino acids. It is gluten-free. Guys, this is what we ought to be eating anyway. This is far better than wheat. Far better than wheat. It's far better for you. It helps get rid of this celiac disease or whatever you call that. This stuff is so much better for you. We need to be growing this stuff. The health benefits of quinoa are huge. What's yummy there, right? Make cereal out of it. Make breads out of it. I'll show you a bit more on quinoa. So here it is. The beauty of quinoa, though, is that it developed in the Andes Mountains. In the Andes Mountains, you get more radiation of all forms. So plants that are already more in tune with, these are called extremophiles. And a lot of people think these would be the first kind of plants you'd want to grow on Mars or the moon. It's a beautiful plant. Look at that. Beautiful plant. It's probably related to the docks that we have here, the sour docks, the curly docks, especially curly dock. Kind of reminds me of curly dock a little bit. So this is where it's native to. It's being grown in Spain right now. Oh, that's a natural distribution. Okay, there's a form naturally in Spain. Okay, never mind. It is being grown all over the place somewhat, but this is something that needs to be cultivated more. This plant's growth is highly variable due to a number of different subspecies. So it's got a lot of subspecies. United States, it's been cultivated in the United States primary and high elevations. Okay, Colorado. Well, you might grow it in lower elevations when, now you can grow this stuff anywhere pretty much. But you know, there's some places where it's, you know, it's harder to grow this stuff. The stuff will grow. It can handle the variations in temperature and climate. So it can handle the cold. It can handle the radiation. This is good stuff, and it's good for you. Not only that, but you can get it. Hey, I got links. I'll put a link on this video in the show notes and in the pin notes of this video. I've got a special link to True Leaf Market. You can go to True Leaf Market and you can buy these seeds. You can grow this stuff for yourself. You can grow it as a plant to harvest the seed from. You can grow it as sprouts, or you can grow it as microgreens. This is an awesome plant here, quinoa. So check it out. Go to my link to True Leaf Market. That will help my channels and will help you too. So we both benefit from that. And they got all kind of other gardening seeds and supplies here. Everything you can imagine and want. They tell you how to raise your stuff. They got great deals. And microgreens, which are also lend themselves very well to growing indoors, which you may have to do a whole lot more of when this kind of a situation occurs. Of course, you have to have maybe some seed plants to replenish your stock with. But you might be that you're more eating microgreens than anything else, because these things are 40 times more nutritious per volume and weight than fully matured vegetables. Isn't that amazing? And they're beautiful and very tasty. The flavor is very intense with these things. And you can grow them in large quantities in very small space indoors. And on the Greenest channels, I go into that. I go all into that and show you how to do that. So stop this share. Hey, Lou. Hang got a rocket from a balloon and off we go. We're going to do another share. I'm going to take you to presentation. I'm going to show you another solution. So what are we talking about? Skin. We're talking about wearing stuff to protect your skin, to protect you personally. And if you don't, if the grid's down and you can't have nothing else, you know, some mud made out of red clay. Make your own red ochre. Maybe sunscreens will be available. Okay, but if the grid crashes, you're not going to get much of such stuff. It may be that you know, you can grow in your greenhouses, but you may have to grow indoors. Hopefully we'll still have power, or you can generate your own. There we go, off grid. So we're about to go into a presentation of my Venus habitat, but we're going to do a subsection of it that's more pertinent to Earth habitats in the kind of environment we're talking about. Okay, this is a habitat concept, a rendition of my universal habitat. And this is from my, let's see if I can make this go full screen. There we go. This has been drawn up for me by an architect from Tunis, Tunisia. Her name, hope I don't murder it, is Afaf Beji, A-F-E-F, is the way she spells that first name. And she's in Tunis, Tunisia. And so I've come up with this habitat concept for a home you can live out of and make a living out of and grow all your food out of at the same time. And the scale of this home is for 4 people, and it covers 1/10 of an acre. In this home, you can grow all of your food, just like and it's based on what the Gervais family does in Pasadena, California, when they grow everything except for the grain products, which they're not using quinoa, are they? They grow everything except for the grain products on 1/10 of an acre. And they sell the excess from that and make a living from it. So they're growing their food and making a living from their farm on 1/10 of an acre in their backyard. I've done videos on Greenest's channel about the Gervais family. And so this house has got a greenhouse cover over it. Now the shape of this is variable. You can pick various different shapes. Oh, hang on, get them the Venus concept there. So this shows kind of a walkways. Now, actually, the walkways would be smaller and the growing areas would be wider. This is her first cut at a photographic rendering in the 3D model she's building this in. It's a beautiful home. Now, the way this is shown is she's got there's another layer completely under this. This is 1/10 of an acre of a growing area right here on top. Well, she's actually got another 1/10 of an acre underneath here, which could be growing area, shop area, or whatever you want to put it in. So you could actually have 2/10 of an acre in this home for growing. And if you grow in shelves, you could increase that dramatically, like you might grow microgreens in. And microgreens, you can grow so much food, such small spaces, those things, it's incredible. This is a layout looking at it edgewise. This would be the growing area Well, she's showing it up here, actually. She's showing us living down, and she's showing this whole area here being one big basement underground on Earth. Now, this is my Venus habitat version of it. And this is the courtyard of mine down here at the workshop level. So you got a workshop that's over 2,300 square feet, and you got a living area that's over 2,300 square feet. And then you're growing on your roof here, and you're growing in the courtyard. Well, she's got this whole thing extended in one of her versions, and you're growing underground here, which is good. These are like 2 foot thick layers of regolith soil or whatever that will protect you from radiation, which would be really good for your UV, right, and other radiation too. Which would, and if you had a nuke war, you'd be a whole lot better off inside one of these habitats. Now that was the basic floor plan that I came up with, which is just showing the general outline for the area. This is one based on 50-foot wide and 90-foot long here, with a 10-foot roadway in the front. And the back is up against the wall. Now on Earth, you might come in, if you want to have a garage underneath, you might come in from the back side. She did a version where you're driving all the way through here. I'm not so fond of spending so much space on driveways because it seems not efficient use of space, but you could do that. But she did compensate for that by having a growing area above. So she compensated for that. Now you could have a garage out here, but it wouldn't be as aesthetic though. She's trying to keep it aesthetic. Again, this is how her work out of the room space, which is a little better than my workout. And she showed doors and walkways and hallways and all that stuff. But she's got a conservatory in the middle here, which is a beautiful addition to this concept. There's so much room in here, you can do a lot with it. She's still got a big living room, kitchen, dining room. You know, you got over here a study for the family, a private study, a bedroom, bathroom, walk-in closet, bathroom. No, it's a bedroom, you know. So here you go from this bedroom through your bathroom into your walk-in closet. I don't know if I'd put a door right there. I think it'd be just all the way through. But there you go. So you come in here and do all your changing and do everything in your privacy here. And who knows, maybe you'd have a study over here. You can rearrange these things, guys. This is totally fluid what you can do with it. I do like her conservatory concept, having the conservatory in the center. Now here she's got you us walking in this way, see? So a lot of options here. And this is showing her underground garage here, driving all the way through back into here, and kind of a little turnaround space, some stairways, garden, and a courtyard. I think she's got this all. Yeah, this is underground too in this particular version, or this could be the courtyard, either way. And this is your living area. Again, this is the photographic rendering of it. Lots of glass. And it's looking kind of, you know, looking very luministic and white. Now you could totally change all that according to whatever your artistic flair is. Now here she's got different plants in the growing area because this looks a lot cooler. She's showing a whole lot of different things growing, including some aquaponics or hydroponics growing here in front of the windows and other places. Nice little plant set up for looking at. It's kind of like ferns there, don't it? Maybe it's pineapples. Anyway, so it's beautiful, lush growing. This is a kind of a oblique view looking at it. You know, this is just because this is in a model, so we're not paying any attention to this. It's all right here. This is all still in development. We're still working on this. This is looking in the door, looking in. This is your conservatory looking down, and she's got some walkways. I would actually, the walkways would be a lot smaller, and I would probably put down metal grates to walk over for skylights, and you could stop them. You'd have a shutter underneath so you could shut it off. She didn't like the metal grates because it looks a little too industrial. I think we could do use tinted glass or something you wouldn't step underneath, and if you're on top, who cares? Just something to walk on. So I think walkways could at least, especially over the living areas, and we've got to let more light in that area. And this is your conservatory in the middle. She's got a table there with some chairs and things going around it. Now, this is a picture of the conservatory. It's kind of looks like a cool vision for inside this home, right? The whole home. Yeah, I scaled it in one set big enough to grow large trees in. That's why, if you look at it back here, I've actually got this about 50 foot up. But this is because I got terraces on Venus habitat concept that are 50 foot down from each other. So you got to drop a lot, you know, 50 foot every 100 foot. That's quite a slope, right? But hey, the gravity is only 90%. You have some strong electric bicycle cars up there to get around there, maybe. Again, that's her inside of it. And here's another view. This is showing, this is cut off where your the living area would be back to the back. You can't see it. So she took the living area out and she's looking out the front. And she's got, you know, aquaponics. So you could do the aquaponics section going this way too, overhead as a layer, because you're going to have so much sunlight, kind of like up here. So she's doing this to compensate for having a garage. Now she's bringing the garage into the lower level, and she's got garage doors here. And then she's got a growing area underneath. Now it may be, if the UV is too bad, that this is where you got to grow everything. Now she doesn't have shelves here. She just got raised beds like you've got up here. Now she did space the raised beds, and this is drawing more like what I had in mind. She's got some stairwells in here, walkway coming right out the center, and a lot of airspace, which is typical for a lot of greenhouses, by the way. So we've got, this is a 3-layer home, basically. You've got a basement or workshop area. Now the courtyard here could either be down at that area or elevated. This is the same level that your living area is on. And then you grow on the roof of your living area, and that's an extension of that, basically. So, and again, this is looking at it from another angle, and there's that extension of your rooftop growing area. You see, coming out here over the driveway. So there you go. This, you know, this is so many ways to do this. It's all optional. When you get tired, you have to go sit down on the sofa and chat with your friends. So there you go. There you grow. You can grow all the food you need in this habitat. You can have your own little 3D printers, lathes, pottery wheels, or whatever you want in the down here in this workshop area. This could be a workshop area, business area. You could put a bar. You could put a server farm. You could put a lot of stuff. That's a lot of room, really. Or you can double. She's got this double. She's got this whole thing being 1/10 of an acre underground. But you can do that. You can run aquaponic tubes out at these levels and have growing all the way covering the lower level, because a lot of greenhouses put 50% shade cloth on anyway, and that would also block more UV. You could hang, you have your glass panel on top, but you could also hang jars with water in it underneath your roof. You just hang those jars everywhere, just glass jars full of water to help block UV. Or if you had to, you could grow entirely under here, reach all the way out and have artificial lights. And you may have to have your own solar panels or other means of generating electricity. You're not going to need much power in this house, though, because you're not having to heat and cool it with all this thermal mass. So lights don't take as much power, really, usually. Although some plants require a fair bit of light, which that could be a fair bit of power. But so there we are, my friends. Home you can live out of, make a living out of. It's intended to be built with, you could either build these walls out of 3D printed concrete block. They're intended to be 18 inches thick to give you sufficient thermal mass, as much underground as you can put it. I'll show you another version. Yeah, there's some of that grate. This is a greenhouse. You could do roofs in there like this. You can put 2 of these would be 60-foot wide. And if you got it 60-foot wide, it would only be 75-foot long, kind of like my greenhouse. This greenhouse here is Sustainable Harvesters, not far from Houston, Texas. I took this photograph there myself. And this was one of my earlier drawings for one that's hexagon shaped. Looking down, it's the long axis this way, which makes it not as long this way, unfortunately. And this gives you a little better idea of kind of what I had in mind. The garden area down here, growing here, solar cells here, the ground level being right here, and berms coming up against the house here, kitchen area back here, and close to the kitchen and bedrooms and bathrooms, you got your hot water solar panel. And here's your photovoltaic electric solar panels, and aquaponics tubes overhead. Garage, workshop, indoor grow area, store, or factory. You know, you can put 3D printers in here, lathes, CNC machines, whatever you desired. You could have your own little additive manufacturing, extractive manufacturing, pottery wheels, looms. You could grow mushrooms, microgreens, all kind of stuff in it. Whatever you desire. It could be your man cave, woman cave. And this was like, that was for this habitat. It's looking at this way. So this is kind of not as long this way. It's really longer this way, so you don't have as much length in this concept going this way as the rectangular one I showed you. But that rectangular one was intended to go on inside my Venus habitat, which was going to have a little shell going down inside like this, hung inside of a floating habitat. You'll see this on my Galactic Greg's channel, guys. This is and this is a full-scale tree, guys. This is the workshop, the living area. This is my Galactic Greg's channel. This is the slope. That's kind of steep for Earth purposes, but you would have a roadway around each of these terraces. You would have 20 of these terraces, 100 foot deep. It makes the whole thing a mile. This is showing this mapped into this. And that all fits inside of this, my Venus habitat. So this is good on Earth or Venus. Yeah, and it will float. I did a lot of stuff on that somewhere. Where is my, there you go. That is my Martian habitat. And this was done by Michael Lorre. He worked this out. That's inside of it. It's outside. It's me in my space suit. See Green Greg? And this is on the inside. And I'm comparing that. I got this photograph here of my other original concept in which Mike Lorre fleshed this out in a Kitely simulation. And I've got video on that. This is the notions for Mars or lunar habitat with concrete and water overhead to protect you from radiation. So that was just a notion one. Now he's actually drawn this out. He's got huge things of water hanging overhead in this now in that simulation. So yeah, this is my Venus habitat. I've got a lot more work I'm doing on this. So I'll show you that stuff on my Galactic Greg's channel soon enough. Let me stop this share. All right, my friends. There we go. Earth, Mars, Venus. This is a good home that will get you through. You can build these walls out of sandbags. You can build them out of tires and pound dirt in them. It's very labor intensive though. I think sandbags are probably how I'm going to implement them myself. I'm planning to build a couple of these. I'm planning to build, that's more than a couple. I'm planning to build them here in Alabama and in my farm ranch in Arizona. So I'm planning to build in 2 different climates to show you the variations and how that's to be dealt with. So it'll give me a chance to work out a lot of the specifics on this. I'll probably have to do a GoFundMe to be able to cover the cost of developing these. But these will be homes you can live out of, make a living out of, grow all your food in. You can work from home this way. You can have your little industries, shops, stores inside of it, however you want to do that. There's so many things you could do with this concept that's not funny. There's so much you can do with it. It basically would erase your environmental footprint off the face of the earth. You'd have no footprint. It's so green that it'll make Greta turn green. It's so green, we may have to strip mine in West Virginia and burn all the coal fields to put more carbon back in the atmosphere. Just kidding. I hate the idea of strip mine in mountains. It's ugly. I could have a little fun though, right? You know, just teasing guys. I wouldn't do that. But it's super green, which might be a problem. We may be coming in the ice age. But the cool thing about living like that, where you got so much thermal mass around you, you're more resilient against temperature changes. It'll be the hot or cold. I could go more into that, and I have covered that in other videos. So this is a cool concept. I'm developing it. It will be earthquake proof to more so than a regular house. It'll be more resilient to fires, not floods, unless you're an upper level. Not floods. And we can work on that though. Oh, if you're in the balloons floating around the atmosphere, which you can do that on Earth too. Yeah. Or you could build these things to float in the ocean. Guys, this concept is so versatile, you're not going to believe it. I am working on it. Like I just showed it to you, hanging inside of a balloon, a mile wide in the atmosphere of Venus. You think I'm crazy? Go see it on Galactic Greg's. And I did a video on Green Greg's about how green this is, how it's the greenest concept. I'm supposed to have one on Galactic Greg's too. Okay, guys. So there you go. We have a lot of things that we can do, but basically modern agriculture would collapse under this situation. People in the cities would be starving to death. It would be horrendous. I got this home concept. It's not, I would never come up with something to tell people they got to live in. That's what a lot of people do. Well, you got to, this is what everybody's got to do. You got to do this. You got to do that. I think we can make something so attractive that people couldn't imagine themselves living anything else, because I think it's going to be a beautiful home. You can see it's definitely have the greenery. You could decorate the walls any manner. You can also use colored bottles like the Earthship houses in them, make them pretty. You can make them artistic, use stained glass. You could use water as some of your radiation shielding in addition to the glass, especially if you have glass overhead. That water might help catch some of the rays, might use smaller panes. So you don't want to have glass in the ceiling that's going to crack, and then you look up to see what's happening and get glass in the house. So you got to have some safety precautions for that. Polycarbonate and poly are used a lot for greenhouse roofs. I'm not sure we want to use a film plastic, but you could. In some areas that's good enough, like Alabama typically. There's a lot of versatility, a lot of options in how to lay these things out and do them. I'm setting forth the basic principles. I'm going to build these things. I've been working this concept for a couple of years now, and I'm going to get more and more into it in time coming. But it's a very resilient concept. So yeah, hey, you can help me, help my channel, help yourself by clicking the links and below. Go into prepwithgreg.com. You have to click the link for that. Just type it in your computer, and it can take you into those specials and all kind of other long-term food storage and prepping supplies. If you click on the My Patriot Supply logo there, and you can also go to my link to True Leaf Market, get your quinoa seeds and other seeds. It is growing time now. Get your seeds now and get started. You need to know how to grow your own food when this happens, because the agriculture is going to be gone. Grids down, your tractors aren't going to be able to get diesel fuel to run the tractors. They're not going to be getting spare parts. Everything's going to unravel, collapse, whole society unravel. It will be a very ugly time if the grid goes down because of this stuff. Don't have to. We ought to be working to get the grid hardened so it would be resilient to this. So that's another thing I'm pushing. So help me out, guys. Join with me, and let's get all these things done. But for now, I'm going to say, there are challenges in our future. There's some big challenges. With the right ideas, we can work our way through it. If we can come up with ideas to colonize space, we can preserve ourselves on Earth. That's what I'm saying. We can do it, but we got to have the will to do it. But you also got to have the will to survive yourself. This habitat's going to be an excellent way to go in the future. But in the meantime, build your homes, lots of thermal mass. Underground homes are good. Earthships are, a step in the right direction. I go a step beyond earthships, because earthships, you do not grow all your food in. It's not, the device unit that I use, but it's a step in the right direction. Underground homes are a step in the right direction. Any home with lots of thermal mass is a step in the right direction. Lots of rock or whatever. These are all steps in the right direction. You can actually retrofit your current home to get it moving more and more in that kind of direction. Add thermal mass, put sandbags up against the wall, build another wall, put rock, cover your house in thick rock, not, veneer rock. Like real rock, lock and block, or put in blocks and fill it full of sand. There's you can get block that is about 12 foot thick, 12 inches thick, excuse me. It's late night. It is now it's now the 22nd. It is also now 12:51 a.m. So that is it's 00:5100 hours Central Standard Time. It's the time on deck. And I'm now going to have, I had to split this video, so I'm going to have to run it through a compiler. So this definitely is not going to post the day that I made it. Anyway, my friends, it'll post. I'll post it today. Now, it just won't be, I hope to post a Sunday night. Not happening. I thought I might post it Monday morning, iffy, by Monday afternoon. Yeah, definitely. Anyway, my friends, well, all that I'm going to say, thank you very much for watching. Sorry for going so long. But I had a lot of information to pack in here. Thank y'all for watching.